You think of Donald Trump?
What do I think of him? I think he was a good businessman, a real estate guy, and he was certainly terrific on The Apprentice.
Well, that, of course, is Judge Judy, offering her deep, insightful analysis of sociopath Donald Trump.
And nobody even understands it but me. It's called devaluation.
A great businessman, you say, with 6 bankruptcies and a civil judgment for fraud resulting in a $500 million fine and 34 convictions for falsifying business records. That's your idea of success? What else do you admire? Jim Jordan's wrestling techniques?
Nobody knows what it means. I know what it means.
So right from the start, I'm beginning to understand why Judge Judy went from a real career in the court to having a TV show where she plays this generation's version of People's Court.
What you are witnessing is real. The participants are not actors.
But only dumber.
Listen to me! Where do you think you are? You think you're on Springer? You're not. You're not.
And now she's being interviewed by Mike Wallace. What, was Dairy Queen unavailable?
Open borders.
Trump was indicted in 4 separate cases, and his legal strategy was pretty clear. He wanted to push all of the trials past the election. That kind of effort to just use procedural motions, whatever, is that the justice system working, or is it the justice system being manipulated?
I see it now. Judge Judy is rich. Her show is seen by more people without high school diplomas than you can find stoners after midnight in a Taco Bell. I get it. She's become the female version of Donald Trump, a hack TV star who thinks her huge stage gives her credence to opine about shit she either doesn't understand or just pulls out of her bum.
I would be happier as someone who owns property in Manhattan if the district attorney of New York County would take care of criminals who are making it impossible for citizens to walk in the streets and use the subway, to use his efforts to keep those people off the street, than to spend $5 million or $10 million of taxpayers' money trying Donald Trump on this nonsense. That's my view. But I, as a taxpayer in this country, resent using the system for your own personal self-aggrandizement. Now, if you didn't know...
And that's what you think the DA did in Manhattan?
That's what I think. I mean, if you look, you had to twist yourself into a pretzel to figure out what the crime was.
That's rich, Judy. But here's the deal. New York can do both. They can both fight street crime and also stop people like Trump from ripping off taxpayers and citizens. Just so you know, Trump lied about the size of his properties for financial gain. For taxes, he said they were smaller. For loans where the properties were collateral, he said they were 3 times bigger. And that's a lie. And that's fraud. That's why he's going to have to pay a $500 million fine. But what kills me is your pouty funkwinkle superiority, that your opinion matters more than seasoned professionals who have dedicated their lives to protecting us, unlike you and your Beavis and Butthead militia of screaming jugheads, dumbing down the already melting American brain.
That is crazy.
There are many kind of judges in the American legal system. There are those like Judge Merchan, who believe that the job is simple: follow the law. Then there are those like Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Judge Cannon, who put their politics above the law and hide behind their lifetime appointments to get rich. And then there's Judge Judy. She thinks because she wears a robe today, that makes her an authority on cases of which she has no inside knowledge and no experience. The so-called hush money trial is emblematic of Trump's scammy, grifter, con of a career. Now, granted, this case isn't as sexy as stolen documents, election interference, or an attempted coup, but it had meat. And this judge, by criticizing the prosecutor, is also telling the grand jury and the 12 men and women who listened to the evidence, then discussed it for days, then convicted Trump on each of the 34 counts, that she knows better, that despite their hard work and dedication, that they were wrong. 2 of the jurors that convicted Trump, they were Republicans who watched Fox News all day and then went to Truth Social.
In a dramatic conclusion to a contentious trial, Trump defied the judge and plowed ahead with a terse statement he was never authorized to give. "I'm an innocent man," Trump said. I've been persecuted by someone running for office.
Let's state the obvious. The only reason Mike Wallace is interviewing Judge Judy is because she has judge in her name. Not because she is a judge, because she has this incredibly mind-numbing show with America's most dim-witted. And she's a celebrity with an opinion. That's okay. You could say the same about me. But here's the difference. I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. Judy is a judge like George Santos is a Jew.
Because the reality is, I never said I was Jewish. I would always joke. For years, I'd say I'm Jewish.
She was, but she ain't no more. It just ain't so. I don't care what she used to do. It doesn't make her more knowledgeable. But that's what's wrong with the media today.
I will say I was surprised. I spoke to a number of CEOs who I would say walked into the meeting being Trump supporter-ish or thinking that they might be leaning that direction, who said that he was remarkably meandering, could not keep a straight thought, was all over the map, and that they, which maybe not surprising, but was interesting to me because these were people who I think might have been actually predisposed to him and actually walked out of the room less predisposed to him, actually predisposed to thinking this is not necessarily, as one person said, this may not be any different or better than a Biden thought if you're thinking that way.
I mean, how many times do I have to hear about Biden's dementia and then listen to Trump say things like this?
In the failing New York Times by an anonymous, wow.
So now why do we need to hear from Judge Judy?
Can I ask you what you did in 2020 when you were faced with that choice about candidates, Trump and Biden, who you clearly weren't excited about? What'd you do?
I'm not going to tell you what I did. Whatever I did, I held my nose.
Okay.
As did a lot of people. Well, they're going to have to do it again unless they get on the Nikki trail. I legitimately believe, so do a whole bunch of other people, that in a horse race between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, Trump is going to be president.
What has she offered that I couldn't get from my Uber driver? The truth is, I'd rather hear from a 28-year-old immigrant driving 12 hours a day than to listen to a multimillionaire opine about Trump's so-called business acumen. If you're holding your nose with an audience of tens of millions and you really feel Trump is dangerous, it tells me you're either chicken shit or a liar. The success of Judge Judy contrasts with Trump in that he inherited money, and as far as I can tell, she worked for hers. But she also spouts that lame Republican credo that if people worked as hard as I did, they could be rich too, when all she did was tap into the same movement that created MAGA.
MAGA cannot be ignored.
A lazy view of what's wrong with America and no plan to fix it. You want to fix what's wrong? It takes longer than the 30 minutes she offers to Kid Rock Nation or putting a copy of the 10 Commandments in the classroom. But that's her assessment. She says Alvin Bragg prosecuted Trump because he didn't like him. Well, damn, girl, he's a prosecutor and Trump is a felon. How do you want Bragg to feel? Back rubs and samosas? And one more time about judges and jurors. Like the judges I mentioned before, those who follow the law and allow the process to proceed as planned, where we are judged by men and women like ourselves, Trump would have, as he is currently enjoying the fruits of, judges whose integrity is compromised and their decisions reflective of that shortcoming. I don't know Judge Judy and I don't know Mike Wallace, but I have been on a jury and I made $5 a day while getting to know strangers who, like I, were curious about the bedrock of our judicial system. It's a system that today is in peril by the likes of Trump and MAGA and, yes, by the lazy opining of someone who should know better, but apparently doesn't.
Damn right. This isn't their Republican Party anymore!
Out of sheer morbid curiosity, I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I'm Chip Franklin.